Rafael Baciak, my name. Back in 90s, I came back from the States, and it was early internet times, several years before the dot-com bubble and before Google existed. And I pioneered e-commerce in Germany. In generally, I built the first online shop for sports goods, and it became a multi-million-dollar company, like 8 digits company. It's still in operation, but with the time, I realized I am not really the perfect entrepreneur. I founded the company out of the dorm, and I didn't have an entrepreneurial background. I'm a mathematician myself, and I was just a tech guy, and I realized they are better entrepreneurs than myself. People who started later became greater success and built greater companies. And then I started to, I realized I need to learn more about entrepreneurship, about being an entrepreneur, how to be successful entrepreneur. And for you, when you want to solve people's problems, you are going to, you can do it as entrepreneurs, of course. You will need to become, I mean, you want to be good entrepreneurs. You don't want to have frustration, you want to have success, right? And I had the same problem. I had a lot of stress, a lot of frustration in my company. I was reasonably successful, what you would say, but I didn't feel like it was the success I was thinking about. It's something about competition, about being better than the others, right? I mean better in business than the others, not generally. So outperforming, outcompeting others, right? So I started to read a lot of books about entrepreneurship, about success and motivation, and going to all these crazy American courses. I don't know if you know H. Harv Eker, my Millionaire Mind Intensive, or stuff like that. So this was one of the courses of the conferences I went to, and I realized it is what I did before was if I have, I thought I just needed to find the best business model, the best idea, and to realize it, and then I will, yeah, it will become a great success if I do the right thing. But then during these courses, I realized it is the idea or the business model and what you do is one thing, and the other thing is how you think as an entrepreneur. And it is a lot about thinking, about your attitude, about how you approach problems, how you deal with people, and so on and so on. There are a lot of things which are deep in your consciousness or in your mind. And this is why this Millionaire Minds Intensive was interesting for me. But then I went to this event, and at this event, people were high-fiving each other. This was one of the exercises, and saying, "You've got a millionaire mind." And very exciting exercise, and everybody jumping and so on. I don't have anything against that American excitement. I studied in the States, so I understand that culture. But what I realized is I was a millionaire myself already. So learning from millionaires wasn't really the thing, because nowadays in business, if you are a millionaire, you are just a average entrepreneur. It's in the States, every 1 in 20 people are a millionaire. So I would rather have a billionaire mind, right? In order to be better than I was already, right? So I started high-fiving the other people and saying, "You've got a billionaire mind," in that course, or in that conference, and they started high-fiving back and saying, "You've got a billionaire mind." So everybody had a millionaire mind, but I was like addressed with billionaire mind. So I realized I came upon this idea that, it is in business, it is like in every other discipline, like in sports. If you want to be really good in soccer, you don't go to the local hero and learn from the third league player. You would like to learn from Lewandowski, or you would like to learn from Messi, right? From the world champion. Because the amount of money, of work, of time you invest will be the same, and effort, and your effort, right? But the result will be completely different. And this is the same in business. There are a lot of books about millionaires, and everybody is telling you think like a millionaire. Even in Poland there is this myśleć jak milionerzy, right? As Biro, I don't know if you know. And there are a lot about millionaire thinking and stuff like this, but this is actually entrepreneurial average. This is mediocrity. So I had this dream to know how billionaires think. But the problem with but how would you get to know how billionaires think, right? How can you extract the knowledge, the mentality, the thinking? I started reading books. Biographies are good, but biographies, you certainly read biographies about successful people, but biographies, you never know if the person, let's say Elon Musk, right? If you read the biography of Elon Musk, if he became successful because of such personality trait or some principle, or in spite of that, right? You never know. You can know it when you compare many people, and then you can draw the common denominator, right? But the thing is, there are no books with original research comparing billionaires, because nobody managed until now to get to so many billionaires and to just get the first-hand knowledge. So all the books, they are about, even if they are, but this is a very small percentage, they are like third-party material, meaning somebody read several books and wrote a compilation together, but he never met these people, he doesn't know these people, and these books show how he thinks and not how they think, actually. So I realized I need to write such a book myself. And in this way I get to know how billionaires think, and but you can imagine it's quite a challenge. It's actually 1 in 5 million people in the world is a billionaire. In Poland, for example, only 3 people are billionaires, right? So it's very difficult, actually, to meet a billionaire on street is like winning a pot in national lottery. And now for a comparison book, you would need maybe 20 billionaires. So I don't know if you know anybody who won national lottery 20 times. It's mathematically impossible, right? But I somehow wanted to do that. And of course I was talking to everybody about my great idea, about this dream, and so on and so on. And then finally there was a chance from a friend here in Poland. And by the way, to interview 20 billionaires or to get to the knowledge, of course I need to go internationally at least. And I was inspired by actually 100 years ago there was a similar project. I don't know if you know the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill met the wealthiest person on the planet at that time in the beginning of 20th century. It was Andrew Carnegie, who who unified the city industry in the States. And this Andrew Carnegie introduced Napoleon Hill, a young journalist, to all his friends, to Henry Ford, to J.P. Morgan, I think, and several other very wealthy people in the States at that time. And with these introductions, Napoleon Hill spent 20 years yeah, getting to know these people or interviewing them, and then he wrote this book, Think and Grow Rich. And this was a big idea and big example for me. But the thing is, he did it just in the States, and I wanted to do it internationally, globally. And so how would you approach it? I mean, has anybody or have anybody of you approached a billionaire or tried to approach a billionaire? How to start with that? I mean, there are like legions of gatekeepers and so on and so on, several levels in organizations. They have organizations of hundreds of thousands of people. And very private lives, of course. They are usually not that approachable. But yeah, and then suddenly there was this chance of a friend of mine in Poland. He said if he knows somebody who used to work for a billionaire before in some other companies. Like he was an executive on some level. And this friend of mine, he gave me the phone number of this guy who worked for that billionaire, right? And so in order for me to call him. And I had, at that time, yeah, I was just terrified with because I had this idea, I knew what I wanted to do, but I was just terrified by the magnitude of the challenge. I was just procrastinating, like putting everything for later and trying. I just, trying to gather my my courage in order to take the phone and call him. And then I don't know if you guys know Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield is a great American motivator. He wrote a book, Success Principles. And one of the success principles was you need to have promise cards. If you want to achieve something in life, you use promise cards. And promise cards are generally it's something like that. You write your promise on the card, and you sign it with your name, and you do like 20 copies, laminate it, and distribute it among your friends. And then the friends will keep you accountable for that. So you will never escape of that promise you made, right? It puts some kind of pressure on you, some social pressure. And well, I had on this card more or less, I will write and publish a bestseller by this and this date. And I had this, I signed it, and I gave it at that time. I was procrastinating with this call to this friend of mine who gave me the phone number of this employee, right? And this friend said to me, "What are you giving me here? What is it? It's a shit, right? What are you giving me? Get serious, do something, right?" And he just scrutinized me, and I was forced more or less to take this phone and to call, right? And then I called this first guy, and it went very smoothly, and I had this first interview, and then another interview, and another interview. And meanwhile, I know 28 billionaires around the world. I have surrounded or traveled the world several times around, and it changed my life completely. But what I wanted to tell you is just this one thing: to take action, because you can have the greatest dreams. If you don't do anything about this, it will never happen. And even you take this action, even if you don't know I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how to do the rest, how to approach the others, and how to then publish, and so on and so on. But you just need to take this leap of faith, right? And to take this first step, and then find out the next steps on the way. Because what I found out by this experience is that the ignorance or let's say the difference between knowledge and ignorance is much less than the difference between knowledge and action. So it's not enough to know. You just need to act. You just need to do it. Yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to tell you. Thank you.